Hi, my name is Kristen Souza, a licensed mental health counselor specializing in ADHD. Today, let's dive into the link between ADHD and perfectionism. On the surface, ADHD and perfectionism may seem very different. However, there are many ways that they actually overlap. Both can result in procrastination behaviors, rejection sensitive dysphoria, and sadness. While having one does not mean that you have the other, a person with ADHD may very well have perfectionist tendencies and vice versa. So the connections between ADHD and perfectionism include fear of failure. Those with ADHD and perfectionism struggle with fear of failure. This often stems from experiencing harsh criticism in their past. For a person with ADHD, this goes along with the stigma of all the negative symptoms associated with ADHD, staying off task, inability to complete tasks in a timely fashion, being very disorganized, disruptive, impulsive, fidgety, the list goes on. Because of this, an individual will be fearful of being further criticized if an action isn't done perfectly. Procrastination, feeling that one has to be perfect, will often cause someone to put off tasks to the very last minute because they often put off tasks in order to limit the risk of making mistakes. Procrastination might present as perfectionism procrastination, so putting it off because you want it to be perfect. Avoidance procrastination avoids working on tasks altogether, which can cause a lot of guilt. And then productive procrastination. In this case, a person may complete projects that benefit them in order to put off others they feel intimidated by. So this might look like picking a project that's a little bit easier than something else and they know they can get done to their standards. Do that project first. All or nothing thinking refers to the mindset that if something isn't done completely perfect, then it's not good enough. And this is definitely the case with people that experience ADHD and procrastination. What is the point of doing a task if it can't be perfect? This leaves no room for gray areas or interpretation for a situation. For a person who experiences ADHD and procrastination, this can only make procrastination worse, as they may avoid something entirely in order to avoid risk of failure. Anxiety, a person with ADHD, perfectionism tendencies are prone to experiencing anxiety as well. They might feel overwhelmed because of the pressures they put on themselves with procrastinating, and it goes in a vicious cycle. Hyperfixation. Those with ADHD who struggle with perfectionism may frequently become hyperfixated on a project or task to make sure it's absolutely perfect. This often results in losing track of time, failing to show up for others, or falling behind in different areas of your life. If you want to watch more on hyperfixation, we completed a video that we'll include in the description below. Sensitivity to criticism. When a person receives criticism, it may be received one of two ways: as a learning opportunity or as a failure. People with ADHD often experience rejection sensitive dysphoria, who take on criticism really harshly. This means they really take on criticism harshly, whether it's constructive or negative feedback. This can really result in hypersensitivity to any kind of feedback from others, even if it's positive in nature. While ADHD and perfectionism can be difficult to deal with in nature, while ADHD and perfectionism can be really difficult to deal with, there are healthy ways to cope. Here are 6 healthy ways to cope with ADHD and procrastination. Number 1, address imposter syndrome. Oftentimes, a person may exhibit perfectionistic tendencies because of imposter syndrome. In order to address this, it is essential to process and recognize what causes you to feel less than. A lot of times people with ADHD, again, get a lot of negative feedback throughout their lives due to their symptoms of ADHD, so it's important to address imposter syndrome. You are good enough. Practice self-soothing. Utilize self-soothing techniques to help you decrease overwhelm and stress in the moment of feeling like you are stressed out because you procrastinated again and you have a project due in 4 hours. Number 3, practice mindfulness. When you take time for self-reflection, you can call out self-criticism and doubt as it occurs. Approach these feelings without judgment and accept them for what they are. Being grounded with yourself in the present can help you distract yourself from the anxiety and imperfections. Number 4, anticipate potential mistakes. Make room for mistakes. We're all human. Instead of being hypercritical, ask yourself how you can learn from these mistakes. Number 5, practice self-compassion. When you're more compassionate and forgiving towards yourself, you're able to recognize and acknowledge that you don't have to be perfect. Number 6, be flexible. Learning to be flexible allows you to actually achieve your goals. Ask yourself, are your timelines realistic? What happens if you don't complete a task? If you're noticing that you're placing unrealistic goals and expectations for yourself and others, change your mindset. Take a step back from a project or task that you're working on and approach it later from a place free of self-criticism and stress. So when should you seek professional help for ADHD and procrastination? It can be helpful to seek professional help and support when navigating ADHD and perfectionistic tendencies. There are several ADHD treatments available, including medication and therapy options. If you recognize that your symptoms are negatively impacting your school performance and relationships, it might be beneficial to seek out help. If you or a loved one are struggling with ADHD, you don't have to do it alone. Talking to a therapist that specializes in ADHD can help you understand your symptoms better. We've linked some valuable resources in the description and comments to help you find a therapist, psychiatrist, and other useful resources. Check them out.